She's not thinking about you right now. She's lying in bed at 11:47 p.m., scrolling past 100 faces she doesn't remember, and she's not looking for attention. She's looking for the one feeling she can't manufacture herself, the feeling of being chosen on purpose by someone who isn't going anywhere. Every woman hits a moment like this, not because she's weak, not because she needs a man the way people say it like an insult, but because there are specific windows in a woman's life, where the presence or absence of the right man changes the entire trajectory of who she becomes. Most men have no idea when those windows are, which means most men show up at exactly the wrong time or leave at exactly the wrong one. What if you already missed yours? If you're watching this at 1 a.m., replaying a conversation you can't undo, or if you're staring at a phone that hasn't lit up in 9 days, this is for you. Not because you're broken, because you're finally paying attention to something most men never study: timing. Here's what nobody tells you: attraction isn't just about looks, money, or charisma. It's about arriving inside a window. A woman can meet an incredible man at the wrong point in her life and feel nothing. She can meet an average man at the right point and feel everything. That's not shallow. That's psychology. Specifically, it's about need state, the internal condition a person is in when connection either lands or bounces off. Today, we're breaking down the three distinct ages when a woman's need for a steady, emotionally secure man peaks, and the psychological reasons behind each one. We're going to talk about what's actually happening underneath the surface: identity formation, social comparison, biological urgency, and something psychologists call future self continuity. Basically, how connected she feels to the person she's going to become in 5 years and how that shapes who she lets in today. I'm going to show you why the woman who ignored you at 24 might not ignore the version of you that shows up at 29. I'm going to show you why some men get one shot with a woman in her early 30s that they'll never get again. And by the end of this video, you'll understand something that will completely change how you read timing, silence, and distance in your own situation. Here's my promise to you. This isn't going to be another video telling you to just be confident or focus on yourself without explaining why that actually works. I'm going to walk you through the real mechanism, the psychological wiring behind each of these three ages, and then I'm going to give you the exact framework for how to position yourself so that when her window opens, you're the one standing in it. Two things I want you to keep in your mind as we go. First, there's a specific age where a woman's desire for partnership has almost nothing to do with romance and everything to do with fear. And I'll tell you exactly what that fear is, because if you understand it, you'll never misread a woman's coldness again. Second, there is one particular age where women make their most permanent relationship decisions, and it's not the age most men assume. I'll reveal both later in this video, so stay with me. Let's start with what most people get completely backwards. Most people believe a woman's need for a man peaks in her early 20s. Prom, wedding fantasies, the settle down pressure. It feels logical. It's also wrong. The truth is messier and far more interesting. The first real window opens later than you think, usually somewhere between 26 and 29. Not because of a biological clock cliche, because of something psychologists call identity consolidation. In her early 20s, a woman is still trying on versions of herself. She doesn't fully know who she is yet, so she can't know what kind of partner she actually needs. But by 27 or 28, something shifts. The trial and error phase ends. She starts asking a much scarier question: is this actually who I am now? That question is terrifying, and terrifying questions create openness. A woman in this window isn't looking for excitement anymore. She's looking for someone who reflects the stable identity she's just built. Someone calm enough that being around him doesn't threaten the ground she finally found under her feet. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. This is also the age where cognitive dissonance starts working against unstable men. If a guy is emotionally erratic, she used to explain it away, he's just passionate, he's complicated. At 27, that excuse stops working. Her brain refuses to hold two conflicting ideas. I have my life together, and I keep choosing chaos. Something has to give. Usually, it's the chaos. Now, here's the second window, and this is the one I promise to explain. It hits between 31 and 35, and it is driven almost entirely by fear. Not fear of being alone forever, though that's the surface story. The real fear is subtler, the fear of becoming unrecognizable to herself, watching friends build families, careers, homes, while she feels like she's still auditioning for her own life. This isn't desperation, it's identity anxiety, and it shows up as urgency. A woman in this window isn't asking, do I like this man? She's asking, can I build the next chapter of my life with this man, starting now? That's an enormous shift, and it explains something men constantly misread, why a woman who seemed casual and easygoing at 24 suddenly wants clarity, direction, and real conversations at 33. She's not being difficult. She's protecting her timeline. And now, the third age, the one most men never even see coming, because by the time it arrives, most men have already given up or moved on. This window opens later, usually mid to late 30s into the early 40s, and it's driven by something almost nobody expects: emotional exhaustion from performing strength. By this age, many women have spent over a decade being described as so independent, so put together, so strong. That reputation becomes a cage. What she's quietly craving isn't a rescuer, it's relief. Someone she doesn't have to manage. Someone whose presence doesn't add to her mental load but subtracts from it. Here's the scenario I want you to sit with. Picture a woman at 38, successful, respected, exhausted in a way nobody can see because she's too good at hiding it. A man shows up. Not flashy, not performing, just consistent. He remembers small details. He doesn't need her to hold his emotions together. For the first time in years, she exhales. That exhale is the whole video. That's what you're actually offering at any age if you understand this correctly. So how do you actually become the man who shows up right, in the right window, without guessing? Step 1. Build your own stability before you try to read hers. Here's the action. Stop trying to time her emotional state and start fixing your own baseline. Are you emotionally reactive? Do small silences send you into anxious texting spirals? Fix that first. The psychology here is simple. Women in every one of those three windows are pattern matching for regulated nervous systems, not exciting personalities. Someone who's calm under uncertainty reads as safe. Someone who spirals reads as another responsibility to manage. The mistake most men make here is confusing intensity with connection. They think showing more emotion, more urgency, more grand gestures proves how much they care. It does the opposite. It signals instability, and instability is the single fastest way to get filtered out of every window we just talked about. Step 2. Become someone whose presence subtracts, not adds. The action. Audit your own communication. Are your conversations mostly about your problems, your moods, your uncertainty? Or do you bring calm, humor, groundedness into the room? Why this works psychologically? Remember the exhaustion window we just covered? That principle doesn't only apply at 38, it applies at every age, just with different intensity. Women are constantly evaluating one core question: does this person make my life lighter or heavier? You want to be evidence for lighter. The common mistake: men who try to prove their value through achievements, through bragging, through trying to seem impressive. Impressive isn't the same as restful. You can be the most accomplished man in the room and still feel exhausting to be around if every conversation centers on you. Step 3. Master strategic patience and understand why silence works when panic doesn't. This is where the no contact principle actually makes psychological sense instead of being some manipulation trick. The action is straightforward. When a relationship goes cold or ends, you stop chasing and you go quiet, not to punish her, not to play games, but to let your own nervous system reset and to remove yourself from a dynamic where you're only reinforcing anxious behavior. Here's the mechanism. Chasing activates something psychologists call reactance, the instinct to push back against pressure, even pressure that comes from someone you care about. The more you pursue during a moment of doubt, the more resistance you create. Silence doesn't manipulate her into missing you. It simply removes the pressure that was causing the resistance in the first place, and it gives both of you room to see the relationship clearly instead of reactively. The common mistake: men treat no contact like a chess move, a trick to make her chase. That's not what this is. And if you approach it that way, it will backfire, because manipulation always leaks through eventually. Real no contact is about becoming a more solid, self respecting version of yourself during the silence. If she comes back, she's coming back to someone who's actually grown. If she doesn't, you're still better off than you were. Step 4: know which window you're actually in and act accordingly. If she's in the identity consolidation window, early to late 20s, your job is consistency over excitement. Show her you're not going anywhere before she has to ask. If she's in the fear-driven clarity window, early 30s, your job is direction. Vague, non-committal energy will lose you this window fast. She needs to know where things are headed, not because she's demanding, but because her whole psychology right now is oriented around building, not drifting. If she's in the exhaustion window, late 30s and beyond, your job is restraint. Don't overwhelm her with plans and pressure. Show her steadiness. Let her feel slowly that she doesn't have to hold everything alone anymore. The mistake that costs men the most across every single window is the same one: trying to force a timeline that isn't hers. You can't manufacture readiness. You can only make sure that when it arrives, you're the calmest, most solid option in the room. I know why you're really watching this video. It's not curiosity, it's 3 a.m., and you're doing the math again, replaying the last conversation, wondering if you said the wrong thing, wondering if there was a window and you missed it. I want to tell you something that might be hard to hear right now. That anxiety you're feeling isn't a sign that you're losing. It's a sign that you're finally paying attention to something you used to ignore: your own patterns, your own reactivity, the parts of you that show up before you've had a chance to think. The silence you're sitting in right now, the one that feels unbearable, it isn't empty. It's where you're becoming the version of yourself that doesn't need her validation to feel steady. That's not a consolation prize. That's the actual outcome that matters, whether or not she ever comes back. Here's the reframe I want you to hold on to. You've been taught that silence means loss, that if you're not actively pursuing, actively proving, actively fighting for something, it's slipping away. But every window we talked about today opens for the same kind of man, the one who didn't need to fight for it because he'd already built it in himself. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is where strength gets built, quietly, without an audience. Stop checking her last scene. Stop rehearsing the text you're never going to send. The work isn't out there in her decision. The work is in here, in yours, becoming someone so stable, so clear, so at peace with his own timeline that whichever window is next, you're already standing in it, calm and unbothered by the weight. That's not a technique. That's not a hack. That's just what happens when a man stops performing readiness and starts actually building it. If this video gave you even one moment of clarity tonight, do 2 things for me. Subscribe, because there's a lot more of this I want to walk you through. And drop a comment telling me which of these 3 windows hit closest to your situation right now, because I read every single one, and your story might be exactly what the next man watching this needs to hear. I'll see you in the next one.